Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I would like to share with you all my final thoughts on the TRM Knives Shadow. This specific variation that I have here to share with you guys is a green or OD green micarta variation. In the beginning, this was actually offered in just straight black G10. These are extremely popular and super sought after knives. But just within this year, I've been able to check out almost every single model for TRM, and I'm no one special. With no favors, no nothing, just being there when they actually drop their knives, getting notifications on Instagram, which really helps. But sometimes didn't have the money to be right then and there to actually pick up models. I'm glad that I waited for as long as I did to check this out, because all throughout this year I had opportunities to get this because they had drops coming, every couple months or so, but they don't make that much. And I understand it could be really frustrating for new people coming into the hobby when they see something that they want and they have the money, or maybe they don't, and they just don't really understand why it's so difficult to bring things to the market as fast as the demand is increasing. It's just difficult for smaller companies. This being a smaller US based company, they're growing as fast as they possibly can. They're putting out as much as they possibly can with as little possible return rate as humanly possible. It is incredible. I've basically heard zero horror stories about anything from TRM. And you could see from the content that I've put out on my own channel, I've checked out the Neutron 2. I actually have that in my collection. Let's see if you can reach it from here. Yeah, so this guy, the Neutron 2 in the lizard skin tie, it's a wonderful piece. It's absolutely beautiful. This, of course, caters more to the enthusiasts with the premium scales. But prior to this, I had the Atom in the same configuration. I sold that one to be able to afford to get this one. Prior to that, I had the Holy Nerd in micro milled for the same configuration. So just within this year, me as a nobody has been able to check out 4 models of TRM, and currently owning 2 of them, I count myself very lucky. So it is quite a blessing to be able to have these knives and experience them and to be able to speak good about them, because there is a lot of good here. When I first heard about TRM a while back, actually like more than 2 years ago, I was quite the same way, with frustration and not really understanding why everything is the way that it is, and the pricing and the way they do their stuff and the drops, and you got to be there when it's ready. And I wasn't up to speed with it, but now that I am and have had the experience to hold a lot of their models, I have the confidence to say that this is money really well spent. If you're an individual who enjoys US production knives, these are a no-brainer. But the thing is that while they do cater to the enthusiast with their titanium variations, those are extremely rare and difficult to get a hold of. The regular ones that come in either carbon fiber or their stabilized woods, or their base model with the G10 ones, while they're still difficult to get, they are first and foremost cutting tools. That's what they are. They don't do a lot of frills and thrills. They are very simple. I have seen other people who have done reviews on these knives, and a lot of them say that they're boring, they're simply made. But what I could say from the use perspective, they're incredible. The blade stock thickness on all their models are extremely thin, much thinner than the average pocket knife, whether they're high-end or budget. On this particular variation is probably the most capable blade shape I have ever been able to check out, because it is so tall, so thin behind the edge, and it has a super low drop point. This is an incredible slicer, an incredible piece to actually use, to grip, to fidget with. So while this looks great, it works even better than it looks. So that's pretty much it. Little spiel there. This guy, is not available at the moment, but on Instagram I read a post from TRM stating that from now on, or at least through the next coming years, they are going to just make available whatever they have instead of doing drops and having their website crash, because that's what has happened to me a couple times where they announce a drop, I got my money ready, I'm typing in my information, and then whoop, they're gone. They're all gone. And then I gotta wait another couple weeks or another couple months or half a year or whatever it takes to get out the same configuration. But they're still trying new stuff. Like the last thing they did, they put out a Concord grape micarta, which looks honestly kind of like a very lightly soaked like double coral micarta, the ones that they were doing previously, or the Merlot micarta. Now they have the Concord grape micarta. Looks good. Red's not my thing. OD green wouldn't have been my first choice. I would have loved to seen carbon fiber. That would have been beautiful, whether it's just a regular standard weave carbon fiber. The milling and the fit and finish that they do on their scales, it is like nothing I've ever experienced before. Even in knives, it costs more than this. Going to the cost, actually, these float around $300. And with that being said, this being 20 CV blade with micarta, has the tie clip, but everything else is essentially steel. If you look at other stuff that is in the market that has the same materials, honestly, it's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. So to me, at least, this was an easy pickup. But for some people who haven't checked out other stuff that have that experience to back up that purchase, they might say that this is a little underwhelming. And me personally, this feels like a very simple, really well-made knife. And for that price, yeah, I don't mind it. This is excellent, it really is. So talked about the price, $300. These are going to become more and more available, and actually on their website, and I'll be linking it down below, they have actually posted that they're going to be releasing lottery spots, and I'm sure eventually in this next coming year that they're going to be making the actual lizard tie more available, the ones with the crazy diamond titanium. That is a gorgeous freaking knife, and probably one of the most difficult US production knives to actually get in this price range, of course. But that's like a $530 or $550 knife. I want that so bad, and I wouldn't bat an eye when I go to buy it, because I know that I'm going to be buying something that is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to be selling this when that time comes around. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to keep this and use it and have a good old time with it until that becomes available, the lizard tie one. Buy the lizard tie and then sell this for as low as I possibly can to just get it out the door to help me fund, of course, the larger purchase, because this is an excellent design, but me as a crackhead, I would love to have the titanium version of it because it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. So let's do some size comparisons, and then we'll take the weight on this. This is a WE Praxis, a Civivi Elementum, and even though this is a Omega Spring or Axis style locking knife, I don't mind it so much. I don't have too many in my collection for for good reason. I busted many Omega Springs in my short time in the hobby. Native 5 full-size Doug Ritter RSK. It's a little bit uncentered, I apologize. But right in between these guys right here. And the last two, I know I did these guys way out of order. We have the PM2 and the Vision FG. So this is on point Actually, the Vision FG is just a hair bit longer, not by much. But this is probably going to be the design that it correlates the most with, mainly because of the forward finger choil spacing and how much of the actual usable blade you have. So you have a giant forward finger choil here, there. It's a little bit flat, a little bit more comfy here. Contoured, very comfy in hand. Slim and thick in hand, but simple, feels good for what it is. The actual usable blade length is about, or the cutting edge, that's actually useful. It's about the same, but you have a whole lot more belly with this, so you have a little bit more sliciness to it, I guess. But this is more of a, I guess, utility blade shape in relation to the Shadow here. I have a couple crossbar style locking knives in my collection, and as I mentioned before, I have broken many Omega Springs just because I'm willing to bet that it's because of the simple fact that where I live, it gets really freaking hot and really freaking cold. And I mean, what happens to metal when exposed to either temperature in long periods of time, you know, it can probably get pretty brittle. So based off of what their Omega Springs are made out of, they can break really easily. Hogue's Omega Springs are absolute fucking garbage. On this particular knife, I think I've broken them 3 times and have had to call in to get them replaced. I've since found out that aftermarket Omega Springs of even slightly smaller sizes, but with higher, I guess, strength, or I guess more durability, they work and they fit just fine. So not having to call their customer service, which Hogue has incredible customer service, don't get me wrong, but the Omega Springs that they use on at least this particular model is trash. So there is that. It hasn't really left the best taste in my mouth when it comes to Omega Spring knives. This guy right here is essentially my #1 pick for ultra budget knife of the year, stocking stuff or gift knife, whatever. I'm actually planning to purchase 3 more of these to gift to my 3 brother-in-laws. So I'm gonna put, you know, 18-degree edges on them, Loctite the shit out of them, and, you know, give them to them for Christmas. So that's the plan. These guys are like 35 bucks. So I have these 2 and this guy. I think that is, yeah, I think that's about it. And then of course the incredible Predator by CMB made knives. So currently in the collection, I only have 4 crossbar locking style knives, and again, they're wonderful knives. It's an incredible way to interact with the knife, but it comes down to the quality of Omega Springs. The Omega Springs that are in this like roughly $55 to $65 Chinese made knife is incredible. The Omega Springs of this are very strong. On this $35 little Chinese made knife, the Omega Springs on this are wonderful as well. The Omega Springs on here, they're shit, they are. But that's just my experience. I still love the knife as is, and I have since put other Omega Springs in here, and I'm just waiting for them to break again. But as you can see, because this is running on washers, those 2 other Chinese made knives, they have bearings, so it's a little bit smoother. This is on washers, is a little bit stiffer in the pivot to get it to where I like it, and I'm willing to, you know, interact with it and deal with it. I do have the tiniest bit of side to side, but is very common with crossbar locking style knives. But this is probably the highest quality crossbar style locking knife that I've ever experienced. The side to side on this is basically non-existent. And if I wanted to, I could crank it down just a tiny bit more to where it's 0. I'm talking nothing. This is running on washers as well as really everything in TRM's lineup, and I don't mind it. They're finished very well, and even out of the box, this thing was significantly smoother than that Hogue could ever be, honestly. But of course, there is the price difference. That Hogue at base is a, you know, $230, $220 knife. This is, you know, floating around 300 bucks, right? But this is a little bit different when it comes to construction. Super thin stock, very slicey, just performance oriented. They both essentially are offered in the same blade material. This one in particular is actually in the Magnet Cut, one of the later runs of it where they actually were getting the heat treat to where you know, the hobby actually deserves. I guess is the easiest way to say it. They're both still incredible working knives, but this is just a little bit more, I don't want to say delicate, but it's thinner, so you don't want to do stupid stuff with it. This, you could probably do a lot of stupid stuff with. I still wouldn't recommend it. You know, a knife is a knife. It's supposed to be used for cutting things, not, you know, a screwdriver, not a pry bar. But you definitely don't want to do any of that kind of stuff with something like this. This comes down to a very fine, dainty tip that is super acute and is going to be wonderful for a lot of precision cutting tasks. So a lot of delicate cutting tasks. This is going to excel in that. And that is pretty much it. There's not much else to talk about. I did size comparisons to my other crossbar lock and style knives, took the weight. I haven't sharpened this yet just because I've been keeping it alive with a strop, but sometime soon when I get some time, I have a large batch of knives out of my collection that I really got to touch up on. As I've stated before many times, a lot of what I do is cardboard and plastic. That's about it. So these don't see a whole lot of actual hard use, but even still, this isn't a knife that I would do a lot of hard inappropriate use with. There's other knives in the collection that you could probably do a lot of stupid stuff with and get away just fine, but this one, not so much. This feels a little bit more refined, besides, you know, how it looks on the outside. You know, having all the T6s, not the biggest fan of it. There's a lot of them, of course. You have the integrated micarta backspacer there, so it's a part of this side of the scale and this other side is a separate piece. But it's cool how they've done that. Looks pretty darn clean, I will say. And the pocket clip is probably one of their best functioning pocket clips versus on the Neutron 2. It's a little funky looking. If I could pull it out right here. It works. It does still work here on the Neutron 2, but it is a ginormous freak of a clip. It doesn't belong on this knife whatsoever. This knife deserves something a lot slimmer and sleeker, but that's the current design. So there's that. The route that they went with on the Shadow is much more, I guess, integrated. It just looks a lot nicer. It makes sense. It feels right. And it is bent titanium, so it has a good bit of spring tension to it. It's not super tight in the pocket. Didn't have to manipulate it or bend it out, or, you know, it didn't come super tappy or anything like that. It's been excellent. And that's really about it. There's not much else to talk about. It's just an excellent slicer, US made knife that I have full confidence in buying from them. I really do. And I can be a cheap person at times, but when it comes to US knives, at least in this tier, yeah, all the way, I highly recommend it. These are beautifully made knives, you know, meant to be put to work and are just excellent. They really are. So that is about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you are not subscribed, consider subscribing and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you're notified of new videos when they come up. With that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day.